It's a tiny space, but you could do pages and I really want expectations.
I have a question.
Yes.
All the things that we've been talking about, the disengagement, the dismantling,
disses.
all the disses, they're all like thinking about these, they're like absolutely like heart-wrenching feelings. So like how do you, like identifying these like situations is one thing, but like in the moment, I don't know, I would have been capable because I would be so highly like emotional at that point. I don't know if I'd be able to like diagnose and remedy it.
Oh, right, no, this is a process, absolutely. This is what I'm saying, we're not gonna be able to solve all this even now, but
This
it's.
is like 2018, 2019.
Yeah, that's a really important point, which is, these things are gonna come and go. And so some of this is just normalizing it. Oh, this is a normal part. Because that can take a lot of the overwhelming, when you're really, if anybody's familiar with depression, one of the real problems with depression is the belief that's going to stay forever.
Forever.
And even if you intellectually know, because you've had experience being out of it, it still feels like that. So some of these feelings, and when you're in loss, it feels a little bit like that too. It's saying, here it is, and being with it long enough to know that it passes. And really, because sometimes when you focus in on something, that's when it actually passes. Does that make sense? It's in the avoidance that we keep it, or in the defense mechanism, we keep it at bay. Which is not to say sometimes we do need to keep things at bay. Sometimes we have stuff we have to do, and we have to use our defense mechanisms. I'm not saying they're bad, we have them for a reason. So that's a really important, it's a really important thing. And part of it, when we talk about the liminal space, gives us some coping, some healthy coping. So let's come back to it with that, because you're right. Having all that coming at you at once, it's a lot. It's a whole lot. All right, so let's go to the neutral zone. I like the liminal space phrase that he uses, but he only uses it to describe it. So liminal space, it's that's between waking and sleeping, and you don't quite know. You know that you're awake and you hear things that are happening, but you're starting to have a dream and it's starting to get in the dream. It's that space. I like that because that's a more positive feeling, or not positive, it's a more comfortable feeling than what the neutral zone actually is. So if we can remind ourselves that this doesn't always have to be as uncomfortable as we think it has to be. Some people love this zone, those are our change people, right? And even for them, that has to be change that they initiated or are a part of. So, I think we can do this one together. Let's talk about the affirmative metaphor. So, coming up with a metaphor that helps you deal with the abstraction, right? What we're talking about right now is, I don't know what this is going to become. It's all abstract. That's disconcerting. So if we can get a little more of a concrete metaphor. I worked with a woman who was a competitive swimmer, and she's Australian, and she swam in the ocean. I don't know if you know anything about Australia, but it's like the scariest creatures on the planet, in the ocean and on land. I mean, it's terrifying.
Yes.
And for her,
It's a hardcore place.
it's a hardcore. I've never been, but
It's probably why.
I love nature documentaries. So her metaphor was swimming, understanding there's all this lurking beneath in the deep, but that she's focused on the swimming at the top and what she can do. That worked for her. I'm not sure that's the one I would want. Yesterday, what did people come up with yesterday? There were some fun ones. There was a spiral staircase where you're going up, and you're not quite sure where it's, but you can look down, but it's a little disorienting, but you're just
The light
keep
at the top, but
moving.
you can't really see how far it is.
Right. So anyway, but coming up with your own, can anybody think of,
Well, look, I would think, I don't know about y'all, but like whenever I'm about to go swimming, I always like dip my little toe into the water to see like what the temperature is like.
Mhm.
I feel like for me, kind of like going into the neutral zone is like going on a diving board without feeling the water.
Ooh.
And it's that second in there right before you hit the water where you're about to hold your breath and you don't know if it's going to be cold or warm or even boiling hot.
Right.
But you have to focus on holding your breath because that's the
Right.
one thing you know would kill you is if you
Right.
didn't hold your
Right,
breath.
right. If you start breathing in the water,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be good. That's a great one. If people talked about skiing. Someone used a skiing metaphor. You know that everything. It's kind of covered up with the snow, and you don't know if you're going to hit ice, and gravity's pulling you down. That's kind of all you know, and that's a kind of exhilarating, just like yours. There's an excitement to that too, so it can encompass a lot of emotions. Yeah.
I think of Mario actually, because we used to play like a lot of Mario, and it'd be like the 2D side scroller, right? And so like, especially when you get into the flow of just like, I've been doing this level like 1,000 times, I keep dying. You get into this place where you stop really looking at the dangers and just like, I know I need to press this, and then I press this, and then I press this, and you have like a physical, like I cannot see beyond this point, but I have to keep going, and then like when I get into that flow space, it's just like, okay, did that, okay, did that. It's like I stop thinking as much, it's just like, keep going, keep going, keep
Right.
going.
See, these are great, and you see how that changes. So if we're applying it to this time that's coming up. I mean, you all are. I would say you're in the ending, but there's some of this liminal space, neutral zone, waving in, right? You've got some of this. I don't know what's
Definitely in the
next.
letting go
Yeah,
I'm definitely in the letting go part.
But do you think there's some of the neutral zone coming in? I don't know what's happening next. I don't know quite where I am. I don't know. The disorientation is what goes for both. Pretty much all the time. Right. So when you're in disorientation, you're kind of in both. And again, these aren't neat. It's not like letting go. Like it's not like, oh, you leave Hollins and then you're in the liminal space. This is predominantly letting go, and then there's going to be predominantly neutral zone, but there's going to be some letting go there too. And then your new beginning's going to start coming in. You're going to start getting more comfortable, but there's going to be days where you're disoriented. So
I've got another example.
yes,
is,
good.
when we're on a road trip and you're going somewhere and you're like, how much farther? Except the GPS isn't telling you because you're in the neutral zone.
Right. Gosh, before GPS, we were always there.
That's why
That would have just been a road trip.
I know there was. I don't know if it's ever happened to you when you're driving. Also, like if your internet turns off, so then your GPS stops working, and like you're
Yeah.
waiting for it to reroute,
And
but
you get
don't.
this sinking feeling
Yeah.
of like, crap, where's my exit?
Yeah.
Oh my
That
gosh,
is why.
the worst
Print
thing
the
happened to me
directions.
over J-term. I was on my way to like a really big deal. Like I'm in a music video. It hasn't come out yet, but just
Oh my god,
I
that's
don't feel like
awesome.
sugarcoating it. It's gonna happen. But I'm in a music video, and I'm on my way to the rehearsal, and like I'm freaking out because I'm like, how did this even happen?
Mhm.
Like what? And there's an accident like right in front of me, like a 3-car accident, and it was almost me, and I was like, wow, like what is going on? And I tried to help the woman, but like I couldn't. Like there was just so much happening around me, so I kept going. After that, my GPS cut off. I got lost. And I had to pull over. I had to restart my phone. Like GPS wasn't working. I was like, I don't know where I am. Like that was my neutral zone because I was because I had to let go of the negative aspects of me overthinking. Like, how did this happen? Like, how did this?
Right, you had to let go. Like, how this happened to? Okay, well,
What am I doing?
Is it the Mario?
Yeah, and then like I actually my phone. I pulled over, got off randomly at this exit. I was 5-10 minutes away. Like. Turned my phone on, GPS started working all over again, and like, I was still like on time, you know, and it went really well.
Great.
But, like I was like freaking out because I was like, what just happened in a matter of 5 minutes? My life was about to
And that's
change.
life.
Yes.
And that is life. I mean,
Yes.
you don't know when a car accident's going to happen. You don't know when your GPS is. It's life.
It was crazy. That reminded me of that. So.
And what's nice about this transition, you do know it's coming. Because some of them you won't know, you won't see coming.
But I think with this transition is the only thing. I mean, this is me personally. The only thing that I know is that I'm getting a degree.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that I know is that May 20th I have to show up at whatever time commencement starts, and then I have this robe on, and then it says that I have a BFA.
Right.
Then I shake the president's hand, and that's it.
Yeah.
May 21st, I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Right.
Not that I
That's what
need
makes
to,
it a transition.
not that I need to know,
Mhm.
but I was talking to one of the visiting guest artists in the dance department yesterday, and he's like, "What are you doing this summer?" And I was like, "I've been thinking about fall," because my brain is programmed to think, okay, summer is break. Fall is when
This is disidentification, right?
this
As
is
a student, this is how I think about things.
I mean, it's like, I was just thinking about this, this is like the first time in my life where I don't know where I'm gonna be. Like, I always knew, like,
At all.
okay,
This
fall-
is a big
fall
transition.
2017,
It
like, how
really
I'm
is.
gonna be in school, or I'm gonna be,
It's also very
There's
exciting.
no more
Great.
discernible chunks of time in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, and we're in the liminal space now, so this is also an exciting time. That's part of these metaphors, right? There's an element of excitement to all of these metaphors here. And that's good to have an element of that, because it does hold that.
kind of like fall to winter.
Mm.
You know, like the leaves are falling, and you're sad that the color's going to be away. But like winter's really beautiful. I don't really like winter, but it's beautiful because by the time spring comes, it's this whole rebirth of a new tree.
Right.
There's so much letting go that
Yes,
happens in
it's
the winter.
interesting, they say, that's exactly, they've used that. This is
There's so
fall,
much letting
this is winter, when the
Winter.
things are happening underground, but you don't see it. And it's a slower time, you ground and it's more simplified. And then this is that
That's
last for
good.
spring, that
So
take.
sure comes back.
Okay, so you remember last time I talked about negative capability? I may have said capacity, I do that, but it's capability, the term negative capability. That Keats term, that was your teaser. So a key part of really dealing with this time is increasing your negative capability. And that means your uncertainty tolerance. How much uncertainty can you hold and deal with? And we all come in with varying levels and varying degrees of that. Navigating transition, the more you can hold some space for that, the better. The metaphors we just talked about help you do that. Slowing down, getting connected to your body. This one, create a temporary workable routine, support, focusing on these expectations. Those are all ways of building your negative capability. Does this make sense? So let's each maybe say one thing you could do to increase your negative capability. This is not to add pressure to you, this is one thing to really help you hold your uncertainty that you're dealing with right now. It could be something you're already doing.
I think for me, I'm in a way I'm broadening my opportunities. So before I was just looking at graduate school because I thought that would be my next plan, but now I'm like looking for internship or fellowship or jobs, like just being flexible.
So opening opportunities which are giving you a broader range of choices, that makes you, it helps you tolerate the uncertainty better.
I'm trying.
Well, so that's not a coping mechanism. No, if you're doing it but it's not actually helping you, I mean, it may be a good idea. That's more just an action, which is a good one, but it may not be an actual coping mechanism.
I think it has helped me to understand. I'm like still trying to learn it, but it has helped me to understand that I don't have to go to one path. That
Okay.
influences other ones
So
as
it is
well.
helping, okay. What are some other things? What could you all do?
Karen Cardozo at the Career Center, she's the new executive director. She mentioned in a speech once that our first job out of college doesn't need to be the next or the stepping stone to the rest of our life. It's more about looking at it in a smaller time frame than in what is my whole life career going to be.
Right.
It's just like, what am I going to do next? And that helps me a lot.
And that's a shift in perspective, right?
Mhm.
So
And it
I
takes-
am making this decision for this time. It doesn't have to be connected to my broader life.
It takes some pressure off of that
Yes.
feeling of making the wrong
Great.
decision.
Great.
And another thing is to like be comfortable with yourself so that wherever you end up, at least you're in that like headspace where you know you'll be okay because you're like comfortable being with yourself.
What helps you be comfortable with yourself?
Spending time alone.
Okay, so alone time.
Yeah.
Alone time is probably a very important part of building that negative capability.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been the best thing I've ever done for myself.
I feel like one of the things, like, recognizing what you have and, like, being honest with yourself about that. Because, like, there's, like, especially for me, like, one of my things, I always feel very, like, unprepared for the things I'm doing.
Right.
And so I imagine that, like, especially moving out and, like, moving out into the rest of our lives, we have, like, yeah, like, no clue what's gonna happen. But we have spent 4 years, or not even, we spent more than 4 years preparing to do whatever happens next.
Right.
And I think that's really important. I think that's something that I always forget to, like, reflect on. Like, I feel like I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I can do that. But I'm like, no, you've spent time, you've put in effort, you've put in thought. You can do it, and if you can't, you have resources.
And you have experience because you came to college. You separated from your family of origin. You left your family home. You've done things that have created more freedom, that have led you to then take the next step. So that's great. Understanding what you have, that you have a degree, that you have experiences, you have internship, you have things that inform and experiences you bring. That's great. That absolutely. And when you said when I asked you what would you need to hear from a leader, and you said that they've done this before or they've done something similar. And so that understanding that you've met challenges before that you didn't know the outcome builds your negative capability. Because you can tolerate the uncertainty of the outcome because you've been through that before. Great. That's great.
I also think bookending helps a lot. Like before you go into a new situation, thinking about absolute best case scenario and then absolute worst case scenario. So then you're ultimately prepared for anything that happens emotionally.
Right.
Favorite thing to do is, like, worst case scenario is that I die. And
Yeah.
it's just like, well, if I die, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of better things before that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like best case scenario, you're a billionaire,
Mm-hmm.
like living out your dream life. Worst case scenario, you die. Like.
Which will have to happen anyway.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's like that's something like
The ultimate bookend.
We can be very certain of that.
I am weak.
So I always tell myself the only thing you absolutely have to do is die. Like you don't have to do anything else, which I think makes it a little bit more fun to like. Even if it's a really pessimistic thing to say, it makes life more optimistic when you say I don't have to do things. I get to do things. The only thing I have to do is die.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, there are a relationship with death and dying can actually build your negative capability.
I mean, I get it.
We're getting super deep here. But
No,
I'm
I
just saying.
get it because it's like it also goes to like a social cultural context
Right.
too of like, there are people out there who have had a lot of loss. So they get to a point in their lives where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna say yes to that thing because the last thing that could happen to me is I could die or I miss my rent and I know what that feels like already. So why not take that free trip that your friend offered you to go to Cuba for a month? It could change your life,
Loss
you know?
breeds appreciation and
Absolutely.
valuing of time. And death is the ultimate loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it does it in an even more powerful way.
And it almost makes you appreciate something more. Like when your worst case scenario is like I could die, but when you don't, you're like, wow, that went better than
A very optimistic pessimism.
I'm still alive. I love it.
We didn't have to go to Barcelona. We did.
Wow. That was great.
So I think this concept, for me, when I first learned this model, this concept of negative capability was really important and really helped me shift some perspective. Along with, it begins with an ending, and there's this neutral zone, and the temptation is to jump and forget the loss, forget the icky, uncertain part, and get to the new beginning, but we miss a ton if we do that. The other thing I want to emphasize before we have to end is that when you are in transition, almost all the time, your self-confidence, and your competence will go down at some point.
Thank you for addressing that. I was just gonna ask if I could.
Yes, it's really important for you to know that, because if you don't know that that's a normal part of it, it feels a lot scarier. If you understand that it's a normal part of it,
Oh, definitely in neutral zone,
it's a normal part.
So how do you reinforce self-confidence or sense of competence? Like, you guys.
Anybody, how do you all do it?
I've been doing a lot of self-talk during my solitude. Like, I'll let myself do the optimists and the pessimists, and I'll write them down, and I'll really sit with why I feel like that. And then I'll ask myself, okay, who told me that? Or where did that come from? And I'm reading this book, and it was saying, you know, when certain situations come up where you're uncertain or you're letting self-talk become like highly negative or just pessimistic, you think back to meditate on the moment where that happened, like for the first time, and think about why you respond that way. So just readjusting my self-talk, because I think sometimes it's okay to say, okay, it's not okay to say negative things, but it's okay to let them come up, because then you can address why you feel like that, and you can get to the root of the problem.
And it's also just like any other feeling. It's okay to not feel particularly confident sometimes. It's okay not to feel confident sometimes. It doesn't, we don't always have to feel, and nor are we always going to feel anything.
I mean, I know.
Some of it's acceptance, right?
I'm personally a proponent of fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You know, like there are times when, you know, I'm like, wow, I feel horrible today, but like if I keep telling myself like, yeah, you got this, and maybe I don't believe it at all, but you know, if you say a lie
Become your
enough,
own
you
coach.
believe it. Yeah, like your own cheerleader, I guess. Like,
Sort of on the flip side, you can also do just like honoring the fact that like you don't know anything. Like when I started my new position here, I was like, I knew enough that I knew that I could do the job, but I didn't know enough about my new position to be able to do it right. And so it was really frustrating for me, because I'm like, I know how to do program proposals, I know how to do evaluations, but I'm not doing them right. And so I like had to let myself step back into the student role, which was really frustrating, because it's like I've already been here for the same purpose, but I have to do it again because it's new.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, what I usually do is I, like, acknowledge the fact that, like, I'm back to not square one, but, like, square behind, and I just try to keep going.
Yeah, and that identity part, remember opening our identity to, we don't always have to be confident, we don't always have to be competent. Nor could we can't be, actually. Certainly can't always be competent, because anytime we learn something new, we're not competent. And opening our identity to being fuller than, I'm always good at what I do, those kinds of more rigid. Okay, so key takeaways. Or questions.
Are we gonna do this again at some point?
We good? We wanted to revisit or
Yeah.
share some
Yeah.
things after you've filled this out more? That's a great idea. Yeah, we'll remind me if I don't remember to put the time in, let's do that. That's a great idea.
I'm horrified to imagine, like, losing student status, not just because it's like a financial loss, but it's also like, I do not remember not being a student, and like, I don't know if I like know how to do that.
Well, now we're students of the world, you know? Like, it's like our choice to then choose to keep learning in whatever capacity that means for us, but then what makes it politically complicated is we're no longer part of a capitalist structure that is the institution, which is what we've been doing for the past 13 years. We've been doing that for the past, however long education is, pre-K to now. We've been told what to
16.
do for like the 21 years of life, you know?
Again, to varying degree, right? So it's been less and less, and right, if you look at
Yeah,
the
but-
elementary school, which is the good news. The
Yeah.
good news is, back to what Priya was saying, there's been some preparing for this,
Yeah.
yes, while what you're saying
But
is
now
also
it's
true.
like, okay, now that you're done, you've done the bare minimum or whatever, maximum, however you look at it. Now it's the point of like, okay, what do you want to do? How do you want to claim autonomy or authority for yourself?
I mean, there's always the opportunity for mentorships. I mean, you never have to stop learning.
Oh,
No,
right.
no,
No, it's the role of student,
role,
not
yeah.
the,
But
not
even
the-
then, like
symbol.
if you like, not to say that like being a student is a crutch, but to ease the identity, I think is really to accept a mentor. So you still are a student of that,
Right.
you know, mentor.
Right. Key takeaways from the model,
Honor loss.
okay?
Show compassion
It's a
to
process.
yourself and others. It's a
Mhm.
process.
It's a process and then should pass.
This has been a theme for my whole semester, but trusting the unknown.
Taking the time to really think through what's going on.
Don't
Slowing
let,
it down a little bit.
don't let uncertainty suffocate you. Don't let it choke you up.
And part of that's that negative capability, these strategies of a metaphor, of time alone, you know, all the things we talked, yes. So those are the ways to help keep it from doing
But your defaults don't always have to be your defaults.
that.
Yeah, I like that one a
That's-
lot.
Can I make a quick plug? We have been talking about transitions, and we're doing a transitions like workshop for seniors who are graduating. I work in the career center. I've got some flyers
Oh,
if any
great.
of you would like them.
Oh, I have.
They cover like how to get an apartment to like what do I do? Like you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want, and they're in the month of March.
Are the ones about specifically senior year that they had announced the dates, are they set yet?
Yeah.
I'd like to see. Can
I just
Maria
have, like,
and
a
Cheyenne, did
pile.
y'all have a takeaway?
I'm just reading myself right now.
I think it was the students, right?
Oh, right.
Sorry,
Letting it
I
all
have
soak in.
Oh no,
Did you get one?
I don't need because I'm not graduating for another year. So
three
I mean,
copies
there's
of
something to
these.
go to.
But this has the new dates. Oh, it's not here yet.
I think they just set the date for the like starting event, and then they'll explain the process.
Got it, cause that's the one I need.
This could be, that could be a strategy for holding some more, getting some information to help you hold that.
I definitely was thinking like the people who are over there who want like the certainty, like this would be good.
Yeah, it can provide some framework. Oh, and you know, the other thing they're talking about, that temporary workable routine, you know, when you're in, everything's in flux, well, I know in the morning I'm gonna do this, and I know that I'm gonna do that, you know, those things can. All right, well, thanks for very actively participating in this. Hope the model helps, it certainly has helped me,
Where did you know?
and it will help you in your leadership too.
What room is it in?
Oh my god, it went in your pocket.
I think it's the pen. Mine now.
No.
What room is it in again?
It is in Jamie Lounge.
Jamie, got it.
Right on to
That's when the leadership thing is?
Yes, it's at 5 o'clock. Come by if any of
I'll
you.
be there.
Most of you are seniors. If you're not a senior, you're going to be here next year. You want to be a student leader. Swing by. Oh, an orange. Nice.
I think you have a leg up, learning all this way ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna walk.
Did it still
With my
resonate though?
phone,
Did
but
you still
I'm
get
Yeah,
into
I
it?
mean,
couple of
I'm
my
in a
friends
big,
are,
like,
like,
transition
right
spot
now.
right now.
Okay, good, so you had your own to apply, good.
Yeah, look what happens.
So was it
See, the good
boring?
thing about being so far from home and then having all my friends spread all over Kingdom Come is that they text, like, all their text chats and all that stuff is like 3 in the morning for me.
Okay.
So it's always like,
This is people here.
oh, that's worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much worse.
Bringing my
I
mom
know.
on my tears.
And I'm
I
like,
know.
why am I involved in this? Y'all text
So wait,
each other.
is it
That's
officially
kind of
officially?
No,
This is
so
okay.
we did
Or it's
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Winter days
Yeah.
left?
Timing,
Oh my god.
wild timing. Thank you.
Do we have any updates yet about what we'll be doing with the 101 and 201 students?
That is Abrina.
Okay.
Yeah, she was just in here before the session, and she said that she's contacted alums, and she's still hearing back from them with availability, and then
Okay.
I think she's matched us with
I don't know how to turn this
the
off.
101 students and the 201 students, and 101s are just